And welcome to another episode of the Dynasty Mind. My name is Chris Chung. I am the founder and creator of this episode of the Dynasty Mind, a feature of FakePigSkin.com. And my Twitter handle is at FFDynasty101, as you saw from the beginning. So today is an exciting day. I am pumped up to just talk about this episode. I'm going to be just going over some of the things that Dynasty owners need to be paying attention to and things to think about. The purpose of this show, if you've been following, or if this is your first time, the purpose of the show is to help you start building your process, building your philosophy as a Dynasty owner, and start building a winning team, how your process will shape you and lead you to the results. So a lot of things has happened between my last episode and this episode, and even more so, a lot of significant happenings have happened during this past week with the NFL trade deadline, with news of season ending injuries, and with, of course, the news of reinstatement. I won't go through too much of it, because you'll get a lot of these news from other podcasts, from other channels, from your favorite Dynasty analysts and things that you regularly listen to. If you don't do podcasts, or if you don't do follow one of your Dynasty analysts, you need to do so, because they will help you really just make your time useful by helping you accumulate all the useful data. And that is why this show is more of a supplement to all the other podcasts out there. If you want to know more about what has happened, our Fake Pigskin has its own Dynasty podcast that's being produced every week by Ron McLeese. I'll be joining them tonight, so that's exciting, and we will go through some of the news that happened just this past week. But it is week 9 of the NFL 2017 season, so a lot of these news will, of course, be focusing on what's happening lately. But if you're watching this video at a later time, because I still think the information can be useful, please know that some of this information may be outdated. So let's get into it. Trades has been happening. Big things that we don't never think that will happen, because the NFL trade deadlines usually goes on with a very, very quietly, not a lot of big moves. It's not like the MLB or the NBA, where big names are moved around the trade deadlines for salary cap purposes. So this year was very unique, and it's kind of related back all the way to the CBA. I think that has an influence on it. It happened much later than I anticipated, but now players, teams, a lot of people are starting to take a lot more chances by doing trades with other teams right before the deadline, and to build their team just like a Dynasty owner would. And what does this mean? So going forward, if this is a beginning of a new trend in the NFL, it will impact the way we prepare for Dynasty. Some of the examples I can think of are, because of the low rookie wage scale, teams are quick enough to determine this rookie is not going to be our long-term franchise quarterback. This rookie is not going to be helpful for us in the future, and we can reduce his role, find someone else to replace him, or just go through the draft again, because we're not really on the hook for a lot of money. And when I'm talking about rookies, these are more so rookies that are the third round pick, fourth round pick, fifth round pick, sixth, etc. Undrafted free agents. Patients have run really short in developing players, and they're expected to come in and provide results immediately, which is unfortunate for the development of players, but it is a necessary evil, because teams, fan bases are really, really short on patience nowadays. And how does that impact your Dynasty team? Well, if you were one of the owners who maybe had CJ Beathard and thought the San Francisco might give him a bit of a longer leash, maybe even heading into next year, they'll draft another rookie, but let Beathard be that stopgap guy. Well, that option is no more. Jimmy Garoppolo is expected to be the guy that they will prepare to invest in. Or if you thought about Donnell Pumphrey or Corey Clement might eventually have a growing role in Philadelphia. Well, now they brought in a new quarterback, Jay Ajayi, and how does that mess up all the patience? How does that mess up all your effort in being patient and waiting for some of the rookies to develop? It just throws a monkey wrench into a lot of the things that we preach. Um, that being said, these are necessary reactions, necessary things that you need to adapt to, but also hold on to being patient with the right players, patient with the players that you have great conviction on and that you have great reason to believe to be that you need to be hanging on to. So kind of that's the way I think about how the reality of NFL affects dynasty rosters. How long of a leash should I give certain rookies? Is it even worth stashing this rookie if I don't have the space? Whether it is maybe useful to trade him now to maybe another owner who may have greater patience or has the roster room for said players. So with that being said, that is kind of the landscape you have for Dynasty that you think about. So today I want to kind of dig into my article, the Digging Deep article that I've talked about several times. It's a useful tool and it is helpful in these instances where injuries and trades and things happen just this past week. So I want to kind of go over it just to help you kind of get a sense of how you can use it. I'll make it available for anyone who is listening to this video or watching this video now. I'll put it in the link below in the comment section. Basically, my Digging Deep article, which you can find on FakePigSkin.com, has a collection of all the teams with the deep stashes, with the backups, and even up to the fourth string kind of backups of each player. How can it be useful? So again, Ajayi has been traded. People know, oh, Damian Williams and perhaps Kenyon Drake, whichever one you want to take a chance on. And if you had this article, if you had access to this article way before the Ajayi trade, you already know to target these players should an injury happen to Ajayi, or should he get a quick hook because he was not being effective, and be patient and wait for. There goes the word of the day might be patient. But if you had stashed a Kenyon Drake or if you stashed a Damian Williams way before this news of Ajayi being traded, well, now you have a potential starting running back who has the rest of this season to just show Adam Gase or work with Adam Gase in his offense. It may not be a fantastic guy. It may not be a long-term solution, but at least you have someone that you can use from now until the end of the season. And who knows, they might surprise. I've heard beat writers being more optimistic about Kenyon Drake. I myself am not in that category. I think Damian Williams would be more of the grinder. Not excited, but if you think about a Terrence West type of player, you might get that out of Damian Williams. And today it just came out that Damian Williams has every chance to be the goal line back. So it could be a two-headed monsters. It could be Damian Williams, but you've already stashed him ahead of time if you had access to my article. So looking into deeper, let's say we're looking into Carolina right now. Kelvin Benjamin has been traded. Easily, even everyone and their uncle, sister, and everyone knows, oh, Devin Funchess is the next man up, and we need to get him. He's probably already stashed anyways because he had a good week a couple of weeks ago, and he's been targeted throughout the season. Well, now we have to look into deeper. Who else do we know? Who else are the names that you should be looking out for that has not put up the stats yet, and probably your casual owners might not even think about picking up or even monitoring? Well, in my article, I've listed several names that you should take into consideration. One being Curtis Samuel, Russell Shepard, who has been more involved than Curtis Samuel in the early part of the season. But we're also looking into much deeper into their practice squad, uh, and thinking about Kiaris Garrett maybe, or Damian Bird, who showed a deep, long speed in the preseason. Maybe these are the guys you need to consider because they are less likely be owned by now, and you can attack the waiver wire that way. One of the last example I give is injury occurrences. If you had access to my articles before then, you know that Deion Sims is probably going to be now accounted for to take the place of Zach Miller, and Trubisky has been targeting those tight ends, and he's been using them. Deion Sims already caught a touchdown from him, but Adam Shaheen is a rookie. I'm sorry, not was, is a rookie. He's a very exciting rookie in the draft community before the season started. And more than likely, he's been forgotten by now because he has not been used. But should Deion Sims be ineffective, or Bears run two tight end sets a lot as well, you can go ahead and look to see if your waiver wire has Adam Shaheen, or even look to the owner who has him. I bet you he's cheaper than you expected. If the owner is greedy, I guess you can back off, but think about it. Shaheen hasn't put anything on the stat sheet yet that makes you think that he's going to command a lot of investment. So someone you might want to just look into and already start thinking about it, grabbing, especially when your league mates don't have the depth of knowledge about rosters and other things that goes on. This is the purpose of my Digging Deep article. It is free to use now. I will be posting it on my YouTube video comment section. I mean the description section, and only people who has access to this video will be able to access it for free. People who try to go through the FakePigSkin website will have to. It is a premium content. So let's move on to what could be helpful to you. What is your team looking like? We are winding down. We are maybe we are in week 9 of the season. Your team, you probably know whether your team is making the playoffs or your team is strictly in a rebuild mode and things like that. For redraft teams, for redraft formats, people are probably starting to think about or losing interest in fantasy football. Don't know what to do. What's the point of playing it through the season? What's the point of paying attention to football as keenly as they did in the beginning of the season? For you as a dynasty owner, it's a different mindset. If your team is dead in the waters, if you are unsure of whether you make the playoffs, you can dedicate your energy to start thinking about next year, next crop of rookie class. The rookies get a leg up on your opponents and start fielding trades for picks. And definitely it's hard to, and I'll acknowledge it's very hard to start thinking about how can I grab the 101? What do I need to pay for? The 101 is definitely expensive. But if you can work yourself out, make a long-term plan, grab a few picks here and there, move up, making slow steps, moving up, go from a projected 205 pick to a late 112 pick, projected 112 pick, like trading with a playoff team who has their eyes more towards the championship, who was kind of going to be a late round pick anyways. They're not going to value the pick as high. So gather those picks now. Start thinking about ways, what you can offer, what you can think about doing, and then work your way up from there. Because say by off season, the prices for picks will only go up. People don't have to pay attention to their in-season management and in-season value of players. They'll all have their focus now on draft pick values, and by then it's really, the price will really shoot up. So kind of fit a long-term plan, maybe trade to find yourself to get a 109 or maybe a 110. Maybe even if you have a mid-round-ish pick, maybe if you have a 108 yourself, a projected 108, let's say, you might want to see if you can move to like a 105 right now. Because by the time the draft season rolls around, which is typically, we're thinking February, March, April, May, and you are this diehard dynasty owners and you want to get a leg up. By the time you get to the draft and maybe the owner with the 101 is not as sure anymore if the 101 is worth it, you can offer a 105 plus Juju Smith-Schuster for the 101. Not sure if that will work, but it does make them pause a little bit. Or even if you are not wanting the 101. For myself, I'll give an example. Right now, I have Nick Chubb really high. I'll package a Tariq Cohen and 106 or 105 to move up to 103. Tell me that is not a tempting offer. Maybe you don't like Tariq Cohen? Okay, I'll give another example. Say Juju Smith-Schuster and 109 to move up to 103 for Nick Chubb. Would you do that? Which side do you want? Make them think. Get to a point where you yourself can see yourself taking either side. That is the way to approach trades in the off season. And when you get to a point where you're saying, I can like this side, but I can see liking that side too, your owners, the other owners might feel the same way. And wow, I can get Juju Smith-Schuster and get a chance for a first round guy. Of course, that is very appealing, but I myself am very convinced that I want like a Nick Chubb or a SaQuon Barkley or a Darius Geis, and I think the price is worth it. For some, they may think you're overpaying, but I am convicted. So that is why I cannot be convicted about a SaQuon Barkley, a Darius Geis, or a Nick Chubb if I didn't do my homework from now. If I start doing my homework in February, it's far too late. Everyone knows who is exciting, who is going to be great, and they'll, in their mind, they'll work the values up. So start thinking about how to do that. And with that said, today I will be talking about my top rookie prospects to help you get started. This is my process of how I do my homework now. In fact, SaQuon Barkley, my homework started last year, but also because I'm a crazy diehard dynasty owner for a long time. But if you are new to this process, this is the prime time to start looking into next year who are the potential top 5 rookie picks. And you'll also get those information from your favorite analysts, and of course you'll always get it from our FakePigSkin website. Okay, I'm talking about SaQuon Barkley. I'm excited to look into him. This past week was the Penn State's first loss, first time that SaQuon did not have a wow game, so to speak, if you look at his stats. It may not be far-fetched from other stats, but if you look through it, people were beginning to question themselves. Oh, is SaQuon the 101 pick? A lot of questions. His faults becomes very magnified just because PSU lost, Penn State U lost. And that is the mindset of a lot of typical owners, which I never get, because are you discarding everything that he's done before? Are you not looking at his body of work? You do not want to magnify one game too much, or you don't want to say that, oh, his faults, or you do not want to use one game to determine his whole career, what he has put out. But recency bias will get people. Recency bias will definitely influence people's minds, and but for me, it didn't really affect it as much. In fact, I am glad, but because now I have a better picture. He's not facing just cupcake opponents. How does he respond? I'm glad that this happened because now I have a better way to evaluate him because I'm not only watching his best games, I'm also seeing whether his faults can be fixed. So let's start talking about SaQuon Barkley. He's a 5'11 junior, listed currently at 230 pounds. These figures might change come combine time as they all usually do, but this is already a NFL type of body size that you would want. So he checks off the measurable boxes. In the offseason, they said that his projected 40-yard dash is a 4.33. Mind you, I don't really place much emphasis on 4.33. It is still a piece of the puzzle that I do consider. But 4.33, hey, he's faster than some wide receivers out there at 230 pounds. Can you imagine? Even if he's not 230 pounds, I can tell you he's definitely over 210, 220 pounds. His body size, his weight, everything checks out. So we have the measurable checked out. Stats and film will agree that he is a fantastic player. Just look at his stats from the last 3 years in his career at Penn State University. He runs over 1,000 yards every year, and he's on pace to exceed 1,000 yards for 2017. This is the top numbers are his current numbers in 2017, and he's not only a rusher. He is also a receiver. Look at these 400s, 400, okay, 100 in his freshman year. His receptions are way above average for a running back. So he is a do-it-all back. What is not shown here are his touchdowns, which, let me see. There we go. We can see his touchdowns. His touchdowns keeps growing every year, which is great. He's fantastic. He's projected to probably match or exceed his receiving touchdown. His rushing touchdown, he'll come close to his previous workload. So this is an all-around back, and he's not your scat back. He's a real running back that has a great skill set, and we're thinking about a complete back in the sense of a Le'Veon Bell or a David Johnson. That's not to say that he's at that level coming into the year, but he is really checking off a lot of boxes just from the box score scouting point of view. Now, we all know box score scouting means nothing. And honestly, can he play on the field? Sometimes we may attribute these gaudy stats to the system which he plays in or the teams that he's faced so far. Maybe he's played really weak teams and put up amazing stats, but are averaged out by really poor stats in big games against tougher opponents. So the background, you have to check the background of where he is, which school he is, and the level of competition he plays in. He's in Penn State University, as I mentioned before, which is in the Big Ten conference, if you're not familiar with college, which is one of the better Power 5 conferences out there and has often put out really strong teams like Ohio State, who won the championship, who beat Alabama the year that they won the championship. They have Michigan, who is headed by Jim Harbaugh, who really puts together a strong defensive team. And they have Wisconsin Badgers, who fields one of the strongest run game. So these are not your cupcake teams. Of course, college, you'll always have, every year they'll face a cupcake matchup. But Barkley's stats are not just against these weaker teams. He puts them up against stronger teams. And today I will highlight those in a couple of videos to show you why I'm excited about Barkley. These are just the basic idea to give you. You need to, as for yourself, if you want to become better at finding a good rookie for next year, you need to delve into the videos. And I'm not talking about YouTube highlights. Delve into each of his snaps. Delve into plays where he's not involved as a pass blocker, or even running routes where he wasn't targeted. All those things can be found on Draft Breakdown. So don't use highlights because highlights are only showing you what's the best. but you need to watch a full game. You need to get a full context and see if he is doing things that are repeatable, because that's more important, is that his little skills are repeatable. Let me show you some of the things that I find that very special about SaQuon Barkley. This is his game against Iowa in 2017. And I'll be using this little on my phone, this little thing called No Huddle app, which is great, fantastic tool. Okay, we'll watch the play and then I'll rewind a little bit and show and tell you why this play impressed me a lot. So here we see he's taking the handoff and bursting. Once he gets into the open field, it's really hard to catch him. All right, you see that? So let's break the play down a little bit. I'm going to do this in slow motion. Takes the handoff. This is great blocking by the Penn State team. You can see the lineman. Oh, mouse. There he is. Lineman blocking. He's opening the way, looking for the second level blocker. He's being caught up. So maybe this play isn't going to highlight SaQuon's ability to create yards or run between tackles, because he has a massive hole there. But what impresses me is that once he identifies the hole, that takes skills too, to identify a hole. You see that? Let me rewind a little bit. There we go. So running, he dips his shoulder pads, bracing for the. He's not bracing for the hits. I'm sorry. He's actually attacking the defenders, and a lot of times we see a lesser running back being taken down right there, but he knows his instinct kick in, or he's been very well. He shows very good awareness of lowering his shoulder, and fortunately for him, the defenders didn't get a good angle to take him down, and now he's in the open hole, shedding off one tackler, an arm tackle, and rushing and forcing a bad angle on this defensive back who cannot square up and take him down. So that is one fantastic play. So that is one play for SaQuon. Let me show you another one. So here's the replay that might slow it down a little bit for you, and you can see that is fantastic running by SaQuon Barkley. Okay, the next play we shall see. We'll look at this. There you go. The cut is incredible, and his lateral speed, which, you know, a lot of times we think that we want our running backs to have that speed to kind of cut the corner. We see a lot of times players trying to make those lateral plays only to be caught because they don't have that speed. We'll have a slow motion. You've seen it in normal speed. So now we'll see how we'll break it down. What makes this play special about SaQuon Barkley? Iowa at this point are very much afraid of SaQuon. As you can see, they're having their eyes looking at him, ensuring that he is contained. And this is a very normal way to react to such a special player. So SaQuon runs. The defender, instead of attacking down, being afraid that he might miss, I suppose. And this is where subjectivity comes in. I think that he doesn't want to attack SaQuon because he's afraid of whiffing. Well, look at that. The bend, the way that SaQuon changes directions. He sits down at a very like an air chair kind of sit down, and places his cutting foot just enough to bounce outside, and the defender misses him anyway. whiffs big time because he thought he might go this way, but that cut is puts him in open space. So at this point, he cuts again, jumping out 1, 2, maybe even that defender. Yep, he outruns him. And that is one thing about SaQuon Barkley that makes him so special, is that tacklers have a hard time squaring up, having enough time to attack SaQuon because of his speed, because of his dangerous speed on the lateral. Okay, let's look at another game. In the Michigan game, we're gonna see a little bit of what makes him so special. His vision in this instance.
Barkley. Off and running. SaQuon Barkley. Say bye-bye. Touchdown, Penn State. You see Barkley.
You see that? That is amazing speed we're watching here. SaQuon Barkley, the play, I'm going to play this a little bit until they get to the play. Here they describe the good call, block call, where they pull to that side to fake out defenders. All right, here he goes. He's in a wildcat. This is one thing about Penn State's scheme. They use a lot of misdirection. They use a lot of ways to fool defenders into looking one way. The quarterback sometimes fakes a handoff, fakes a pass to a handoff, and fakes again. So you don't often see people do that. So they either fake a handoff and then pass, or they fake a pass and put and gave it to the running back. But in a lot of cases for Penn State, they try to use as many misdirection as they can, and that is smart but not helpful for the NFL level. Because it freezes up defenders, it freezes up slower defenders, which you'll find a lot more in college than you'll do in the pros. Okay, so let's look at how this really helps. SaQuon takes the snap, fakes the handoff to McSorley, runs that side. You see how much respect Michigan is giving SaQuon by flowing the defense to his right side. Now, he could maybe run straight. This is potentially a hole that's opening up, but instead of doing that, he has the big play mentality and the skills to back it up. Let me put it that way. Again, he sits down in that air chair formation, power cut, jumps, and nothing but green here. He's going all the way and nobody catches him. It makes you wonder what happened to all the the safeties. They may all be out of place too. And this is perhaps a broken play, but it still doesn't diminish what SaQuon Barkley can do. He sees which hole is the most optimal, and he made the right decision. In looking at his body of work, SaQuon is able to do this a lot of times. That's not to say he does this every single time, but he has more success than he has failures. He commands the attention of defenders. Let's look at this here at 3:35, minute 3:35 of the video. This is the 2016 games against Ohio State. One of the stronger school. Ohio State is a very well-known school that pumps out NFL talent. And in this game, we have Raekwon McMillan, we have Marshawn Lattimore, we have a lot of first-round prospects that played for Ohio State, and this is what they're going up against. So we're seeing this play here. Look at the amount of respect and attention that this team is giving him. Urban Meyer puts 2 guys on him, and he is able to draw them away, opening ways up for McSorley, his quarterback. By the time they realize the quarterback will run, it's already too late. All because SaQuon has drawn the attention away from the middle linebacker and the I'm guessing that's the safety, but it could also be the other linebacker. Another showing of him commanding attention, defensive attention. It's in the same game here, minute 7:51. Here we go. At the goal line, snap, fake. You see how much attention he commands. People don't want SaQuon to beat him. Okay, we're gonna go back a little bit. Look at this, the fake handoff, and you have all the defenders crashing down. Even this guy who was supposed to be on Gesicki, the tight end. Now they're very fortunate, wide open, that he dropped the ball. Yeah, that is Gesicki, the tight end. He'll be talked about as one of the rookie tight ends for next year. One more example of how much attention is really given to SaQuon. This is back to the Michigan game of last year, 2016. Yeah, and we're waiting for YouTube to load. Okay, here we go. This is when teams don't put enough attention. That's kind of what this example is showing off. And you can see that SaQuon can use his shoulder shimmy against Devin Bush. Devin Bush is actually one of the better linebackers that I've seen in the Big Ten. And if you try to put him one-on-one, that's a little shoulder shimmy, and really puts defenders in a very awkward positions because they don't know if he's going to cut back and they don't know if he's going to continue running his line, and really that can freeze an opponent, and that kind of happens. Let's watch it in full speed so you can appreciate why that kind of shake and bake was special. That stands out to me. Okay, just watch this closely. He does his shoulder shimmy without losing speed and continues to run. He could have cut in, he could have continue running that side, but a lot of times what I see from lesser talented running backs is that they have these play in segments. They know to take the ball, grab the ball, run, stop, make his little fake to hope to fake out the defender, and then continue to finish his run. But for SaQuon, we see here, Say. Let's slow it down a little bit. As he runs there, you'll see that he shimmies without really slowing down. It's all in one smooth motion. And that is what makes him so special as a player for me. He is, as Matt Wallman would say, integrating a lot of his techniques. He has an IT. He has the it factor, the integrated technique. He doesn't put these things in segments. He combines them, which takes talent and a lot of giftedness in his ability, in his physical capability of doing that. All right, so I've talked a lot about his great things, but some of the things that stands out, of course, the negatives is, I think one of the things that does stand out to me, more so than people have critiqued that SaQuon doesn't really break tackles, and I think that critique has some merit, but not to the point where people are putting it into. When people want to see running backs break tackle, they want to see an Adrian Peterson running angry, or they want to see a Leonard Fournette trucking people over. That is not SaQuon's game. His game is to make you miss in the smallest space possible, in the very last second. And that is really something that not a lot of running backs can do. if you watch other running backs, you don't see the same amount of patience, vision, and elusiveness that SaQuon is showing. We put SaQuon more in the category of LaShawn McCoy, but with a better body build, in my opinion. Anyways, I think LaShawn is a little smaller than what I want, but SaQuon is not the type to be a punishing tackler, but he breaks tackles just fine. He runs the between the tackles just fine. I don't think that's a critique that I would take into consideration. One thing I do see that makes me scratch my head is and makes me think that perhaps one of the things that SaQuon does not have full control of is his balance. He has wonderful balance. He has above average balance, but he's not always in control of that balance. And this is an example. I'll show you why I think that. Because it appeared at least twice I've seen it. And this has more to do with him as a pass catcher in the open field. Not this play, but in the very next play, we'll see what I'm talking about. This is a play where SaQuon is the pass. Oh, that's the pass blocking. Well, that's another critique too. Sorry. Maybe that's what I listed there. That's a critique of his. His pass blocking is very subpar. He doesn't seem to have like proper technique. And just at times just stops his leg instead of moving together with the defender. And I'm not a scout. I don't know to tell you what a proper technique is or what needs to be done, but I recognize it when I see it. Here's an example of why I think SaQuon is. Oh man, I am losing all my places. I'm sorry, folks. This is bad preparation for me. I thought I had it, but sometimes when you see SaQuon catch the ball, afterwards he tumbles over himself. He falls over himself, and maybe it's shown in one of these videos as I keep talking. But if not, you can enjoy all the SaQuon cuts. This is the play. Here we go. Here's the play. He trips over himself. Maybe he's going faster than he needs to after the catch, and both times I've seen it, both times that I wanted to describe, is when he catches the ball and he runs his upper body much leaning way too forward than his lower body can handle, or he's trying to do too much. He's trying to cut and make big plays, and then he gets his own feet tangled. So this is a regular occurrence. He'll need to clean that up. But SaQuon Barkley to me is a fantastic player, will have a great future. At least I think he'll have a great future in the NFL, and he's shown special abilities. Yes, he does need to work on being a sound blocker. I don't want him to be a punishing blocker, but I do want him to become more sound, being able to use pads, taking the plays that's given to him without him trying to think that he needs to make a big play on every single snap, which you do see a lot in a lot of the videos when he goes up against everyone. His first mindset is to fake you out, evade the defender, and go for the big play. And that sometimes will bring him into trouble, more so likely in the NFL, because defenders are much faster and are less likely to sit back and wait for SaQuon to use his move. In the NFL, you'll see really good defenders attack him, which he'll learn very quickly in the NFL that you cannot fake everyone out just because you are talented. But if you can hone that elusiveness, he can have a top ceiling of a LaShawn McCoy type of elusiveness, which is fantastic because right now he's one of the most elusive football player running back. In conclusion, SaQuon Barkley looks to me, and I really am not a fan of making direct comparisons to other NFL successes that has happened, but I think I have seen enough of it to draw this conclusion. He looks to me like Ray Rice. Ray Rice is much more physical in the way that Ray Rice can use a stiff arm, is more of a punishing runner when he needs to be, but the build, the speed, the way he uses his skills altogether reminds me a lot of peak Ray Rice. Uh, maybe a peak Maurice Jones-Drew. He's not going to be Marshawn Lynch. He's not going to be Adrian Peterson, but he can be very good. So these are the reasons why SaQuon Barkley will be a top prospect for me. And if we look into being worried about like who is going to draft Saquon, who might be, will there be a possibility of him landing in a bad team? Well, yes. If he is going to be a top pick, you're going to project him to be taken in probably by a bad team of 2017. But let's look at the candidate list of his landing spot. I believe his talent is so good that he will not fall outside the top 12. And if we look at who the top 12 prospects are, a lot of the teams, I think all but 2 or 3 teams need a running back for next year. I can tell you right off the bat, Cleveland will need a running back of Saquon's talent. Maybe they're not going to draft him 101. That would be way too luxurious of a pick. And with the needs of Cleveland, they may not take him 101. San Francisco, they're beginning to build a good team together. They knew coming into this year that they're going to be in trouble, that things are not working out. Shanahan has already said that he's not a big fan of Carlos Hyde, and shown over and over again that Hyde, I mean, I've seen the signs. He may not have said it outright, but I'm beginning to see the signs, putting him on a trade block, reducing his role, saying that Matt Breida is just as good as he is. He'll ride the hot hand. San Francisco could be a prime spot for Saquon to land in, and with the draft capital that they have, and with the young building team that they have, that could be a great landing spot. New York Giants definitely needs a running back. They have Jags for running back right now, just the guy. Arlene's Darkwa, Wayne Gallman, Paul Perkins, all have failed to impress the coaches, impress the team, and the running game is frankly quite terrifyingly poor in New York. So they can use a talent like Saquon. Tampa Bay, who knows what happens with Doug Martin? Will he resign? Will the PED be too much? Maybe he does resign, then they probably won't want Saquon. But right now the door is open. I skip Indianapolis, but definitely Indianapolis. I am not convinced that Marlon Mack is a every down back at the next level. He's very good, but to the degree of it being an every down back, I don't see that in his range of outcomes this year, in the next few years. So Indianapolis is also a prime spot to take a Saquon. New York Jets, Forte's out the door. Bilal Powell is not the answer. Elijah McGuire definitely is not the future is not that bright for him either. 7th spot. Now this is very interesting. Oakland Raiders has a very, very poor year, marred by injuries. Marshawn Lynch coming back didn't really do much to help. The running back by committee with Richard and Washington are also not that fantastic. So Oakland is a fantastic spot for Saquon to land, and they have the pieces there. They have the quarterback there. They're building an offensive line that may have taken a step backwards this year, but last year, Oakland Raiders had one of the top offensive line, and if they can get back to that level, Saquon, Oakland, boom, that team is ready to be back in playoff contention. Chargers will probably be not a team that will be looking for Saquon. They have good success with Melvin Gordon. Chicago, probably not. They have a good tandem there with Jordan Howard and have needs just about everywhere. Arizona, another team that might need a running back because what they have right now is an AARP all day, who is already not. I don't foresee him being there long term, and if they can build that ground game while trying to introduce their new quarterback next year, Arizona could be a prime spot. Cincinnati, I'm thinking probably Joe Mixon will be the star there next season. I don't want Saquon to land there anyways, from the way the coaches have been misusing running backs. Denver, Interesting. C.J. Anderson, Devontae Booker, Jamal Charles. I don't see a strong future for any of these backs with Denver. Could they use the service of Saquon? It could definitely take the pressure off whoever the quarterback is there next year. Sneakily, Cleveland has the number 13th pick. I think that's what it's saying. But yes, Cleveland has Houston's the 13th pick. Could they take Saquon there with the 13th pick? These are prime spots to take a running back that could help your franchise move forward. So all of these teams, there are very few bad landing spots, in my opinion, where Saquon doesn't see immediate playing time, and even some of the spots like Oakland, where I want him to land, or even in San Fran or New Giants, places where he can be, the team will build around his talent. So I don't foresee a lot of like negative landing spot right now for SaQuon Barkley, and that bodes well for his stock. That bodes well for his future, and that is the reason why he is my 101 pick right now today. Short of a major ACL injury or a nerve injury, I don't foresee how he can. I don't foresee what will be really dropping Saquon's value. So those are the reasons why he's my 101, and that is my process. I've showed you a little bit about my process of how I start doing my homework on rookies. There's a far more behind the scenes work that happens. I am not a scout. I've not been trained to know what's how to be a scout, but my process right now has been helpful as I made my own notes and I compare them to people who are much smarter than I am. People like Nick Whalen, people like Matt Waldman, anyone else who has a background in football, who studied football, and I match my notes with their notes, and when it comes into agreement, that's when I know that I am on the right track. And that is why it's important to have early on early on doing your homework on rookies. So I hope you enjoyed this this episode of the Dynasty Mind. From now on until the off season, I will continue to bring up other prospects. If you want to know a prospect, if you are curious about a prospect, please tweet at me at FFDynasty101 or leave a comment in the YouTube page, and I will be able to and I will definitely, I can guarantee you, I will definitely just watch the prospect that you want me to watch. All right. Hope you all had a good time. Hope you learned a lot. Hope your process has leveled up or sharpened, whichever you want. And just hang in there. There's a few more weeks of football. Enjoy it. Enjoy the time together with your league mates, and continue to sharpen your dynasty process.